My guest on Weekend Connection today is Connie Kendall. Well, she's the voice of Connie Kendall on the program Odyssey. I'm talking about Katie Leigh. Why don't you listen for the next 10-15 minutes and get to know Katie Leigh? Let's get connected today on Weekend Connection on BBN. Good afternoon. Welcome to Weekend Connection on the Bible Broadcasting Network. And my name is Ed Phillips, and I have as my guest a very special lady. And if you're a regular listener to BBN, you know that we run the program Odyssey, not only on weekday evenings, but also on Saturdays. And my guest is the voice of Connie on Odyssey. Her name is Katie Leigh. Katie, welcome to Weekend Connection.
Hi, Ed. It's a pleasure to be on your station live and not just recorded on Adventures in Odyssey. I actually get to talk to you.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule. I have for quite some time wanted to know, along with our BBN listeners, a little more about you and your journey, how you came to know the Lord and Odyssey. And well, let's start with just your testimony, how you came to know the Lord and how you got into voice acting.
I never took acting in school. I didn't really entertain the idea of being an actor. But when I got out of high school, people commented on how young I sounded. And I thought that was interesting. And I've always had I think, a pretty good ear, a good sense of humor, and could imitate things too, although I didn't think about it for making a living. But when they suggested that, and I was in college, and I thought, well, maybe I can do some voiceover work to make extra money while I'm in college. And so that sort of started my journey. And I was living in San Francisco. I made a demo, and I ended up getting a agent in San Francisco, and I did one job that qualified me to join the Screen Actors Guild. And when I graduated college, I had got a degree in broadcasting. I thought I wanted to be a producer because I did like entertainment. I just thought the chances of having any kind of success as an entertainer was pretty small, so I didn't think that kind of success would apply to me. But when I graduated, I didn't know what I was going to do, and my agent said, your voice is really good for cartoons. And at the time, there was no such thing as video games. They weren't doing anything in San Francisco, but they said you really should go to LA where they do animation. And I grew up in LA. I didn't really want to go home, but I did. And well, when I was still in San Francisco, I called a pretty big agency that was recommended to me, and to see if what that would entail. And turned out the agent was filling in for the secretary or the receptionist, and answered the phone. And when she heard me, she said, "How soon can you get here?" And I got there pretty fast, and I thought, well, I'll give it a couple years and see if I can make a living. And if I can't, I'll figure something else out. And that was in 1981. So far, so good. Yay. Thank you, God. I'd been raised Episcopalian, and I'd always gone to church, but I didn't really know the Lord, although I think my heart's desire was to do that. And near the beach, I started to go to an adult Bible study at our Episcopal church. And I guess that's when the evangelical movement was really happening. And a lot of the people at the study were like really paying attention to the Bible and talking about it and applying it. And that was very challenging and intriguing. My church I was going to was near the beach. So we used to go to church with our bathing suits under our clothes so we could use the parking lot at church to walk down to the beach. And we found out there was another church that was having church on the beach, they called it. And I thought that made me feel less guilty. So we wanted to check it out one day. We got down there too late for the service, or we had to leave before the service started, but someone invited me to a small group. And we went to the small group, and actually from there, in that Bible study, started going to that church and accepted the Lord. Probably it was about 1984.
Mm.
And that's when I started praying and asking God to, use my talents for Him. the funny story is they had a drama group at the church, and I was already making a living as an actor, but a voice actor. And I thought, well, maybe, I should join this drama group. And they were having auditions and they did improv. And when I was in San Francisco, I did do improvisational theater. So I thought, oh, piece of cake. And I went and I thought I was amazing, just waiting for them to call me and tell me that I was in. And they called and said, oh, we prayed about it. We don't think you've been a Christian long enough. And I was like, what? I thought I did so good in my performance. What are you talking about? But I had to accept that. So that was really humbling, and just trusting that God would open up another door. And I don't think there's be a more powerful ministry to be part of than the Adventures in Odyssey team with Focus on the Family. So I guess God knew what he was doing, and I'm super thankful.
Well, now what year was that? That was that the mid 80s, 84, 85 because I remember when that program debuted.
It debuted in 87, but it debuted the year before as Family Portraits, which is what I heard on the radio when I was driving somewhere, actually to the town where Focus had their offices originally. I heard it on the radio and I was like, oh my goodness, I know these actors. I recognize their voices. I know they're professionals. I wonder if they would use me over there. And I looked their address up in the phone book and I drove over to their office and gave them my reel to reel demo.
I remember those.
And then I did a few little projects for them. I did one family portraits, and supposedly they wrote the part of Connie Kendall for me, more or less. And I was so surprised. And I kind of feel like Abraham and Isaac in a way. Well, not exactly, but maybe you'll understand the parallel. They said, we got this part for you. We're writing it for this when this new show comes out. And I was really excited. And it's like, when's it going to happen? It was supposed to happen in June, August, September, October. And I was pregnant. I finally gave birth to my son in October, my first one. And he was 6 days old when they called me and said, okay, can you come into work this week? And I said, no, I just had a baby. And I was so heartbroken. I really wanted to be a good mom. I said, you know what, guys, you're just going to have to get somebody else because I can't come in. I don't want to. I just brought my son home from the hospital. And the Steve Harris, who was the producer at the time, the writer who called me, he said, okay. And I hung up the phone and I thought, well, that's that. I'm trying to be obedient to God. And then about 6 weeks later, he called me back. He says, so can you come in now? And I was like, what? You're kidding. I mean, I totally thought I had given it up. I said, well, can I bring my baby? Because they were kind of far, like an hour away at the time. And he said, oh, first he was like, blah, 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 blah. And he was, well, this is Focus on the Family. Sure, I guess you can bring your baby. And so my first session, I showed up with my kid because I was nursing, and the rest is history there too.
Oh my goodness, and you've been Connie Kendall ever since. Now,
Right.
how often do you all get together to record these episodes? Take us inside a little bit behind the scenes, if you would.
Originally, we went once a week, and then we built up enough shows where the show started airing Monday through Friday on a lot of stations. Things changed. Focus moved to Colorado, so then they started flying their engineers and writers and directors to California, where we are. And fast forward, a recording schedule is just 4 times a year now. I think they put out 1 or 2 albums a year, and they're not quite as big. I think they're less episodes than they used to have.
Hmm. So, are those all-day recording sessions when you do get together?
Well, normally we get one show done in about 4 hours, one episode.
Hmm.
I think they record 6 episodes in a week, and Chris does her wraparounds. We're lucky if we get to see her because she records that separately.
Hmm.
But usually they'll do 2 shows a day for 3 days and then fly home.
Hmm.
So it's usually January. They told me this. I finally got wise. I had no idea. I always act surprised when we're working. They're like, Katie, we have a schedule. October, January, April, and June, I think. That's every 3 months. Like, oh, okay. I don't know, because sometimes I'm not in them. So you just don't know. It depends on the story arc and whatever's going on, whatever the writers, they plan it way ahead. But nobody ever tells me anything, so I don't know.
I appreciate you coming on today onto Weekend Connection and just giving me and giving our listeners some background, not only into Odyssey, but into who you are. And I just really appreciate you taking time to do that today.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered and just blessed that you're even interested in talking to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And whenever you are in the Charlotte area, do let us know. Okay?
I will. I'll pop by.
Katie Leigh, thank you so much for coming on Weekend Connection today. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Katie Leigh a little bit better today on Weekend Connection. Weekend Connection is a public affairs program of the Bible Broadcasting Network, and it's heard every Saturday afternoon at 4:02 p.m., 3:02 p.m. Central Time, right after the news.
Thank you for listening to this feature, a production of BBN, the Bible Broadcasting Network. BBN provides 24-hour Christian programming, great Christian music, and Bible teaching. Listen to BBN by clicking the link in the description. Thank you for listening to this feature, a production of BBN, the Bible Broadcasting Network. BBN provides 24-hour Christian programming, great Christian music, and Bible teaching. Listen to BBN by clicking the link in the description.